chords.
Okay.
Because so we're talking about, I didn't realize that you were also in the corporate world and had that lifestyle too. And it's so funny because I relate so much to that. I didn't even know we had that in common. And you're reminding me so much of when I worked for an asset management firm. So I was around portfolio managers and all these senior
Oh,
level, like
yeah.
older men, and
Boozy
they were
drinking
out.
culture.
That's all we did. That's like
Yeah.
all we did.
Well, and
Crazy.
take a step back from that. And this is what rethinking drinking is about. When and why did women start drinking like cowboys? And it's because we were searching for equality. We wanted equality with men, and we moved into the male driven patriarchy of the world. I shouldn't say patriarchy, that's very political, but we moved into a very male driven business world and wanted to climb the corporate ladder. We wanted to shatter the glass ceiling. So the way we did that was to start drinking with the boys. And we adapted a drinking culture into our own ethos and ecosystem. And then you go home and you're juggling, climbing the corporate ladder in a male driven business world. And you're juggling your kids, you're juggling your household duties, you're driving kids to soccer and trying to also play with the big boys, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you're coping with wine because or drinks because you're like, I feel like shit because I had to drink with clients last night. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are no sponsors to tell me what to do, so you can say
Okay.
whatever you want.
Okay. You're drinking with the big boys and you're feeling like shit the next day, and you've got to scurry your kids around, and you've got to be honest mom after a hard work day hungover, and then you're grabbing a glass of wine again. And so this is where, you were talking about, like, you're in the boozy culture of like portfolio managers and things. That's such a male driven industry, and women have been fighting for equality in the financial world and wealth management for so long. And they're not doing this intentionally, but how do you find that equality in the workplace? You go out for drinks, you keep up with them. Annie Grace, the author of This Naked Mind, she talked a lot about that. She was a VP of marketing for a big company. She was quite young when she got that promotion, and she was going out and she felt the pressure to keep up. They went for, whenever she traveled and was meeting with clients, have drinks. And I started thinking about, well, where did women get there? How did we get to that place? It's because we were trying to fit in to a male driven business culture. And that's going to take a long time for things to shift. But that's one of the areas that we need to rethink, as in the workplace, setting the tone that drinking together as colleagues should not be a normal thing at all.
Yeah. And I come from a human resources perspective too. I'm an HR manager. I still am. And I really had to learn myself how to move away from that. It was when I was in working for an asset management firm, I was human resources representative at that time. And I would take the train to New York for meetings to visit, our office there. And we'd go to Nobu and barely ate because we would just drink. It was boozy lunch. And then it was like, get done the bare minimum in the office, maybe have happy hour while you're there, and then go out for drinks after. It's just, it's so interesting that you put it that way. I never thought about it from that perspective in terms of trying to match the male culture. That's really interesting that you mentioned that.
The other thing, I'm so interested that you're an HR manager, because I've been actually trying to have conversations, not a lot, but I've just started like reaching out to people in my network and talking to them, people I know who are in HR, because there's also, I'm always thinking about now inclusivity. And, one of the things around people saying, I don't want to drink, or I don't want to drink. There's a whole bunch of baggage that comes with that. And when you say something like that to somebody, a coworker, so I've always been thinking about it with that lens of, in the workplace, there are probably a lot of people who do not drink for various reasons. And they're not included in that drinking culture. Just from it doesn't have anything to do with like somebody who's an alcoholic, somebody who is it could be pregnancy, it could be religious reasons, it could be personal choice, it could be whatever that is. When you create a drinking culture in a workplace, you're automatically excluding anybody
Mhm.
who doesn't feel comfortable in that environment for whatever
Mhm.
reason. You don't even need to validate that reason for anyone.
Mhm.
If somebody says, why aren't you drinking? That's none of your business.
Right. It's the Rachel Green smoking on Friends. Remember? I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw that episode where she would go smoke cigarettes so that she could keep up with her boss and have those conversations
that's
because
right.
otherwise she missed
And
out
she wasn't even
on
a
the in
smoker.
right.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
remember that. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was. And I was in the casino world, and luckily at the time there was a lot more regulation around employees kind of expense accounts and things like that. But I'd be stuck in a hotel in rural Ontario, because one of the casinos I managed was out in rural Ontario, and
Mhm.
I'd have nothing to do. And so, you're buying a bottle of wine at the like small liquor store near your hotel, and watching a movie by
Mhm.
yourself, and like there's nobody there to monitor how much you're drinking.
Mhm.
And so you're not doing it intentionally at the beginning. You're just like, yeah, I have a bottle of wine. I might as well finish it now. Like
Right.
four large glasses. Oh,
Right.
it's only four glasses, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. There's that the picture of that idea of like women were forced into a square, or a square peg into a round hole when they started searching for equality in the workplace. There's that,
Mhm.
how we've adapted that culture. Two is the inclusivity, human resources perspective of the
Mhm.
workplace. And then three, there's the other things that go along with working, that where
Mhm.
you're put into situations where you're alone, where
Mhm.
there's other things at play in your life, that you'd rather be home with your babies, or your dog, or your
Mhm.
partner. Like you'd rather be home, you'd rather not be in a hotel room by
Yeah.
yourself.
You're like, well, this
So
is what I'm working with. So
yeah, I gotta have fun. And
yeah.
this is actually like, something just sort of tweaked or triggered in my mind, like how you're creating, when I'm in that hotel room in rural Ontario, I'm trying to create a little bit of a party
Mhm.
on my own, right? Just what you said, like, well, this is what I'm working at with. I gotta have some fun on my own.
Yeah.
And it's almost a release as well from like, well, I don't have any responsibilities. My kids are
Yeah.
with my husband, they're at home with my husband being taken care of. I'm by myself.
Yeah.
So woo! Time
Yeah.
for a moment of party. Like there's all
Yeah.
these there's this could go in very many ways, but there's like
Yeah.
also the bring your vibrator, bring your wine when you
Right.
when you're traveling for work, right?
Yeah.
Mama's gonna have a party.
Right.
um and the that ties into, I think, how you like that coping for moms, like, or women
Mhm.
in the workplace, like, oh, ooh, I get it. Doesn't matter if it's a night at a hotel, or even if it's an afternoon your husband takes the kids to the zoo. The
Yeah.
pressure you're feeling, you're like, woo, mama's gonna have a good time now. I'm gonna crack open the wine,
Yeah.
binge on Bridgerton.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to do a quick intro because I'm so excited. I feel like this is awesome. We've already kind of taken off, and I have so many questions for you and so many different directions I want to go in. But let me
Yeah,
first
yeah.
introduce you. So,
Okay,
Sarah Kate,
sure.
thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on. This is something, this kind of mommy wine culture and sober curious movement, and just kind of exploring this topic and just bringing it to the forefront and having these conversations, I think is so, so important. And it's important to me personally. I'm on this journey. I'm still figuring it out, but I want so deeply for other people to step a foot onto this path as well, just to see if something different works better for them. So I was so excited
Yeah.
when I saw you on Instagram, and I was like, oh my God, I need to chat with her. So um, you are an alcohol-free sommelier, which is that a real thing? That's a real thing.
It
That's
is
awesome.
now.
There
It
you
is now, girl. I made it
I love it. I love it.
first.
Also, founding editor of Rethinking Drinking magazine, which is really cool. You've been featured on CTV News, CHC TV, which I'm assuming are Canadian channels, right?
Yes, they are. Yeah,
Yes,
CTV,
yes.
CHCH Global. Yeah, they're all
That's
Canadian.
awesome. Okay. And self-proclaimed excitable energizer bunny. I love that. So
That's
welcome
right.
to the Feel Better podcast. I can't think of a single better way to feel better than to limit alcohol. Truly, honestly, I think that is something that is so overlooked and completely changes the way you feel, the way you sleep, the way you eat, the way your mood, your emotions, your weight, everything is impacted when we decide to drink or not to drink. So I'm so excited to have you here, and I can't wait to get back into it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. This is a perfect this is going to be a perfect conversation because my values are so aligned with this like holistic picture of your health that
Yeah.
we've been leaving out one really key thing, right, out of our holistic
Mhm.
health. And like we've kind of talked about this within kind of my network and the people that I work with. There women will they'll and I'm not pointing a finger at anyone, by the way. There's no judgment here, or that I'm not trying to make any one person feel badly for their decisions, but we've been sort of trained, practicing meditation for a month is good for you, and that maybe cut out meat for a month, try to be vegetarian or vegan, give it a try for preventative health. But nobody ever openly talks about how awesome this one thing is, that we never talk about the other puzzle
Mhm.
piece. The truly holistic picture for preventative wellness is
Mhm.
taking a look at how much are you drinking? Like, let's
Yeah.
be frank. And it could be 1 or 2 glasses a week that you're not feeling good about. It could be 1 or 2 glasses a day that you're not feeling good. So there's a wide spectrum, but I think that
Mhm.
even a small amount, we know that for women specifically as well, there's a lot of health risks related to that. So
Mhm.
yeah, this is a great conversation.
Yeah. I recently read How to Quit Like a Woman, and I felt like it answered so many questions that I didn't know I had yet. And I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And, in all of my own personal research and my training through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and just understanding how, alcohol, well, a lot of people don't want to accept the fact that it is a toxin, it is a poison, and your body then tries to reciprocate and bring itself back to homeostasis and balance. And that's why you feel the way that you feel. I think there's just such denial around that. But reading How to Quit Like a Woman really just solidified everything for me. And
Yeah,
even just the
yeah,
marketing aspect of it. And yeah, it's really interesting. And I always go back to, like, I cringe now when I see, like, I think it's called mats and cocktails or something like that at my
oh
Pilates studio.
yeah,
So come do Pilates
yeah,
and then let's have margaritas. And I'm like,
cringe.
this doesn't
No.
make any sense.
And this is this could be a whole other like episode of your podcast. Like, how is it that the wellness community has decided that detoxifying through through yoga and meditation it's okay to then toxify yourself immediately
Yeah.
afterwards,
Yeah.
and erase all the positive benefits of being stretchy, finding inner peace, like um that it's such a disconnect for me.
Mhm.
And it's almost like why don't people see this, like why don't
Mhm.
but to your point about the marketing, and then some good not some good clean fun, Quit Like a Woman, Quit
Mhm.
Like a Woman, she really really dug deep into that. And it's so that is sort of the key to all this, is we need to really rethink how we're looking at marketing, how we're looking at
Mhm.
how marketers are talking to women. And so here's an example of, in Canada, there's an organization called Ad Standards Canada. And so around Mother's Day, I saw this chain restaurant had put out an ad, Mom Deserves It. It was
Mm.
on Instagram, and it was a bottle of wine and then a wine glass with probably a 5 ounce pour in it. So that's fine. And then a small little salad. And I'm like, that salad and that wine, that woman like is going to be drunk if she drinks that bottle and has that small salad. Like, first of
Mhm.
all, that's not healthy balance.
Yeah.
But also, what does mom deserve? What does mom deserve? So I actually with Ad Standards Canada, and they got Milestones was the chain. They actually responded to me directly because I called them out on Instagram, and they said, "You're right,
Yeah.
we're going to tweak the ad," and they did. But they explained it was supposed to be
Wow.
about the food, not just the wine. It was supposed to
What
be about the
food?
food and the wine. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So they didn't send me. I asked them to send me the revised ad just to like see it, and they didn't respond. That's okay. They're busy. They're a marketing department. But Ad Standards Canada got back to me and said, your complaint isn't valid because you're a competitor, because you sell t-shirts on your website. and you're anti-alcohol, you're an anti-alcohol advocate. And it was a woman writing this to me. And I wanted to literally like, I couldn't believe it. Because and this is how we're all trained to not see. You see it because you've read Quit Like a Woman. When as soon as I said like mom deserves it, you got it right away.
Yeah, I know. Mommy drinks because of you. I see that. Like, this is why mommy drinks in a big bottle of wine.
And it's like, how do you think the kids feel? How do you think the children feel? That was eye-opening. Not eye-opening, but when I had that thought, or when I heard that probably on Instagram somewhere, you have to think about all the kids that are hearing that message, that they're so terrible that mom has to get drunk. And again, no judgment. Yeah, there's no judgment for any woman listening to this at all. Like, I embrace every single woman who's even considering listening to this podcast, whether you decide to have one less glass of wine or not. There's no judgment at all. This is wider. This is about a culture of wherever we turn. You go to, we have a chain here called Home Sense. So it's like, you have Marshalls, right?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a sister store to Marshalls, and it's all home decor.
Yeah.
And they've got a whole section for wine purses and wine paraphernalia, like mugs and cups that have like,
Mommy
AM,
juice.
PM, mommy juice, like, cute purses they're coolers for your wine bottle you can take out. And
it just makes it just normalizes it. It just creates more of a demand and acceptability for that to be, a regular part of this mom's life. And then she's like, okay, well, now I am going to get that June shine, and I am going to get that hard kombucha for the beach, and I am going to drink this wine tonight because clearly it's acceptable. I mean, they make purses for it,
yes. So they've totally, so on the one hand, they've normalized it. So the poor woman who is feeling the pinch, feeling the pressure of like trying to maintain work-life balance and raising children, or raising a dog. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have kids, but that's just my kind of like my experience. And then they're seeing this normalized, and they're like, I'm really stressed. I'm gonna drink this, and I'm gonna drink at the beach, or because it's normal. But then what's missing, which is something that I keep talking about, is we don't normalize how much is too much, how much is enough. Like, we don't talk about that. Do you know that one can of White Claw is two servings, and you have 2 White Claw, it's like that's 4 drinks technically.
Right. Yeah.
And so we don't normalize some of these basic conversations, that at an early age, so women can make informed decisions. Fine, if you want to have 2 cans of White Claw, that's your decision. Maybe you haven't drank all year and it's your one night out with your girlfriends, and you're going to have 2 cans of White Claw, but you know that you're over that, like, the healthy limit of what you should be having. That's when things, I'm rambling a little bit, but I think that's when things start spiraling out of control for some people, because they look around and they see other people drinking everywhere they go, not taking into account, maybe that person hasn't drank in a month, and that's their one drink, but it's your 15th of the week.
Or maybe they really regretted it the next day, and that was out of the ordinary for them, and you're just kind of looking at it as normal when it isn't normal.
I don't know if you had this experience when you as you've been going through this journey, but I realized that, even though people were joking about farmers market roadies, for instance, like taking your wine to the farmers market. So the other moms were all, haha, bringing your wine to the farmers market. Like, how many of these women were actually doing that? So I was like, and this is so hard for me to even admit sometimes. I'm like, how dumb was I? But I thought everybody was doing it. And really looking back, I'm like, I think I might have been only one of 2 of the group, maybe 1 or 2 of us actually had a roadie. But jokes aren't real. But when you like to drink as much as I did, it's like, great, it's normalized. Another reason for me to, like, drink away my annoying children. My children are lovely, they're not annoying, but at the
Yeah.
time it was like, great, I've got to take them to the farmer's market. Well, I'm going to
Right.
bring a roadie with me. This is another area where it's safe for me to practice this
Yeah.
unhealthy habit.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I think also in a way, I think it's the culture, but I think that there was a level, at least for me, there was a level of, in the beginning, it was a level of rebellion. Like I always like to take things, not take things to the next level, but like if people are afraid to do something, I'm going to do it. Whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing, like if you're afraid, well, I'm not afraid. So I remember being 10, 11, and I saw an episode of Roseanne. And Becky and Darlene had gotten into the liquor cabinet and they were making these hurricanes with orange juice and
I
whatnot.
remember that episode.
And I thought that was they are so cool. Like these girls are so cool. Look at them doing things that the other kids, all those dorky little kids are afraid to do. So I continued with that for years, 15, 20 years. And then I think the shift for me was rebelling against this culture of normalcy. Oh, now drinking this much is normal. Watch me
Yeah,
step out of it. Good luck to the rest of it. It was almost like a method of rebellion rather than kind of
100%.
checking out from the kids or checking out from work. It was like, look how cool I am. Like, don't you want to be me? I'm like the people in the movies. And I'm like, and I think there's an element of that as well, where you don't realize it's taken over and you're not really in
Yeah,
control anymore and you're not
no,
cool. And it's not normal
yeah,
to drink at brunch, lunch, dinner, 4 in the
all
morning
day,
when
all
you
day.
wake up
Yeah,
hungover. Like it's not
yeah,
normal.
yeah.
So it was interesting. Something that you had said made me think of that, of the rebellious nature of it in a way.
Well, the website somegoodcleanfun.com, and I think, and I didn't mean to correct you live, but Rethinking Drinking, the magazine's actually called Some Good Clean Fun, Some Good
Oh, it
Clean Fun.
is. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Okay.
no,
Okay.
that's not your fault. The Instagram handle is Rethinking Drinking,
Yeah.
because my personal Instagram is Some Good Clean Fun, because I didn't think I was starting a magazine 2 years ago.
Okay. Good to
And
know.
so okay, so somegoodcleanfun.com are right on the front of the page. It used to say like the rebellious choice, empowering women to make the rebellious choice to live alcohol free.
Yeah.
I don't know why we changed that. I think we softened it a little bit, but I think I'm going to put that back, like just the
Yeah.
rebellious choice to
Do
live with
something
balance,
different. Yeah.
do something different. And earlier, and I just want to get back to this one thing that like just sparked joy in me. You said, you were being rebellious when you were a teenager drinking, because it was like rebellious. People like, back, I'm 44. So like when I was being rebellious in the 90s, it was just like women drinking and binge drinking hadn't really escalated yet.
Mhm.
So I didn't drink a ton in high school. It was university. And then in my like in the early aughts, for instance, oh my God, like Sex in the City
Yes.
encouraged this. So it was very rebellious to be like, look at me, I'm rebellious, I'm cool, whatever. And now everybody drinks that much. And so it is a rebellious choice
Yeah.
to be like, yeah, see you later, I'm done.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I don't want to be, there's something about not like stepping outside of like the rules,
Yeah.
sort of, and being I always, there's a video out there somewhere about how to start a movement, how to start a social movement. And it's about this, one guy dancing alone with his shirt off in the field is the weirdo until a second person joins them, and then a third person, and then 15 people come, and all of a sudden it's he's not so weird anymore.
Yeah.
Right now there's only a few of us that are the like weirdos dancing in the field with our shirts off. If
It's
that makes
true.
sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. But you're right. Once 100 people join, then you've got like, Woodstock. Like,
Yeah,
it's like the same
exactly,
fun.
exactly. And I think slowly we're having the pandemic definitely exacerbated inequities in the world, whether it's economic equity, whether it's gender inequity. And so women bore the brunt of the pandemic, definitely here in Canada. Not sure, probably similar situation in the US.
Yeah.
But what came from that, though, was it shone a light on how women were coping. And so now the tide is starting to turn. I think like women have come out of this hard time and are saying, I don't like the way I feel about myself. Something's wrong.
Mhm.
Something needs to go. I don't want to drink. Maybe they haven't connected the dots on the drinking yet.
Mhm.
Maybe they're just like, I'm so stressed still. I'm so anxious still. Why? And, slowly but surely, I think more and more women are finding out that I really did drink too much, and now can't can't control it anymore. Like now I'm
Mhm.
a little bit beyond. I'm into the gray area drinking zone
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
not being able to control it. And so it'll be interesting to see how our culture shifts. It's going to take a
Mhm.
long time. But if you look back at ads, tobacco ads from the 1950s with women smoking while they're pregnant, like smoking the best cigarette for the two of you. Can you imagine?
I
Like
can't.
so cringy,
It's
right?
insane. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, I think you're right that this pandemic has changed the way that we live, and it's given us a chance or a forced opportunity to slow down,
yeah,
which gives you a minute to reflect on the way that you feel and the things that you're doing and your habits. And I hope that these conversations like we're having pique some kind of interest in a way to think about things differently. Like, maybe you don't sleep and I have insomnia and I just can't lose the weight, but you never once thought about maybe it's that glass of wine every night that's interrupting your REM sleep, that's causing you to crave carbs
yeah,
the next day,
yeah,
or, whatever it
yeah.
happens to be.
And
And
we
just,
don't, because we don't know. We have never
yeah,
been educated. It's like a secret information, and
yeah,
then you read it and you're like, oh well, no wonder why I can't sleep. Why
yeah,
didn't I find out about this when I was 15?
yeah. Why is no one
Like,
telling
why
anyone?
is
Yeah,
nobody telling anyone about this?
yeah.
And this is the foundation actually. And I think this is I've tried to figure out sort of with some goodcleanfun.com, like, what do people want to read? And of
Mhm.
course they all want the fun drink recipes,
Right.
but I feel like this is great. I can get them in the door with the fun drink recipes, but also provide some
Mhm.
of this basic rethinking drinking education that
I love that.
just to open their eyes a little bit about how to live with true balance.
Yeah, yeah. Here's a fun recipe, but here's why it matters.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
this is so, oh God, there's just so much. I do want to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about how you got to this point. Like, how did you come into this information? What was the turning point for you? Like, why did you change your life? And how has your life changed since you've moved away from alcohol?
So I would say I was definitely a career drinker in my 20s. I loved to drink. Like from the moment I started really loving wine, like really tasting wine. I loved wine. I loved never liked beer, but I mean that doesn't matter. But so in my 20s, I was kind of the usual like party animal, loved going out, loved talking to people. And if I couldn't go out somewhere, I'd be like, well, I'm gonna have wine at home because I can't go out, so I'm gonna have wine at home. Um, I had two kids in my early 30s. So, you quit drinking during your pregnancy and then you go right back to it. And I would say things really started to kind of go downhill after I had my second child, because that's when I started really leaning on having a glass of wine every day, just to cope with some of the realities of working as a casino marketer,
Mhm.
trying to like live in that world, and then being a mom, being there for my kids, household duties, husband, be a good wife, and have a relationship with my husband. And I would say by my late 30s, I knew there was a problem. I knew that I
Mhm.
had a problem. I wasn't a blackout drinker. I was just constantly like in the evenings drinking wine all the time. And there was several years where I was really like, I don't like how much I'm drinking. Wine doesn't even taste good anymore. So I switched out my wine to like more expensive wine because I was like, well, I'm losing my taste for the $20 bottle. I need $30 or whatever. And I really dug into like learning how to taste wine, and like it's my taste buds like I'm maturing and
You're
you know,
sophisticated. Yes.
yeah,
You drink really good
yeah,
quality, expensive
yeah.
wine.
And I had a really good friend who also drank a ton. And I would love going out with her because she would make an ass of herself and so would I. And then we'd kind of commiserate and be hungover the next morning. We our kids are exactly the same age, and so she's just a little bit older than I am, and so she sort of um, started cutting back. Like she started cutting back a little bit, but then went right back to kind of the same level of drinking. But when she did that, I was starting to, when she started cutting back, I was like, I really need to pay attention to this. And seeing her with a different lens when she would act crazy and like do foolish stuff, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to turn into that. Like she was a little bit, I'm not going to mention any names. She was probably further down the path than I was at the time of binge drinking. um not sure how she's getting home. She would it those were the type of things that scared me, and I'm like, I don't want to end up like that.
Yeah.
I had two moments. I had one horrifying morning where I realized that I had driven home drunk,
Oh no.
plastered.
Oh,
But somehow I had persuaded myself that it was okay for me to drive home, and it was late. It was like probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was a short distance, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like anything could have
yeah.
happened in that
Yeah.
moment, in those like 3 minutes in the car.
Yeah.
And then I went to a Christmas party and it was open bar, and that's probably one of the few times I've ever blacked out. So I've probably had like maybe 3 days or 4 days of my whole life where I blacked out, and I fell asleep on the bathroom floor down
Mm,
in our basement bathroom. And my husband was so mad. He's like, look what you're doing to, the kids are watching you. You can't control
yeah.
yourself. Like, what's wrong with you? And that was a turning point. That's where I was like, yeah, this has got to go. Um, from there, it was a really short time period between, like I tried to moderate a little bit for a few months and that didn't work. And then somewhere in my network, I can't remember how, somebody said, you should read This Naked Mind. And I was like, yes, I'm going to read it. And I love This Naked Mind because when you open the book, she's like, you don't need to stop drinking right now. But by the end of this book, you're not going to want to.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I believed her. I was like,
Yeah.
this is great. And sure enough, by the end of the book, I was like, I'm kind of, now I see it for what it is. I did her 30-day alcohol-free program. Like it was
Yeah.
it's called the Alcohol Experiment. And it was free. I don't know if it still is, but at the time it was free. And I did the work. I wrote, like, I went online onto the little module every day and wrote down like how I'm feeling. And luckily COVID hit, so I couldn't go anywhere. There
Mm,
was no temptations. I could just like burrow into my home life, and be miserable with no other temptations. It's miserable.
yeah.
It's miserable when you've like had a habit that borders on an addiction. I'm going to say it. I have to say it because I think that anybody at my level, it was an addiction. Um, I was a high performing, I wouldn't say I'm a high performing alcoholic, but I was a high performing, like, person with alcohol use disorder.
Yeah.
I hate to put labels on things, but that's how I kind of see myself, because I didn't ever hit rock bottom. That doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You don't, hitting rock bottom doesn't mean anything, but
Yeah. You don't need a rock
um,
bottom to
yeah,
understand where you are.
yeah, you don't need to rock
It
bottom. And so
happens, but
it happens. And so, I mean, I think at the end of the day, for those 30 days, it was miserable, but joyful at the same time. Every day I would have a victory. I got stronger and mentally stronger and mentally stronger. I'm like, oh my God, look at me. Look what I can do. And like, there were some slips along the road after that 30 days. Probably 6 or 7 months went by where I was like, I had an anniversary and I had a glass of wine at dinner, and then my husband's like, let's get a bottle of wine on the way home. Drank too much, felt like crap. And I'm like, oh, well, off the wagon, get back on the next day.
yeah.
And then, 1 or 2 other times where I really said, that's it, I'm done. And like, I don't drink anymore, was my daughter on Christmas Day. I had a glass of wine at dinner. I don't know why.
I bought a bottle of wine for Christmas dinner because my husband doesn't like wine.
Interesting.
Why did I do that? But I was like, well, it's for the family. Like, who's drinking it?
For you.
For me. So he had a glass of wine and I had a glass of wine, and my daughter was furious with me. Furious because, and so she's just turned 13. So she was 12 and a half at the time. And she's very articulate. And she was like, this is really disappointing. I'm so mad at you. You disappointed me. You promised you're working so hard, Mom, and look what you're doing. Why are you having that glass of wine? I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Why am I? You're like, why? That's the thing.
Why?
Why am I having this glass of wine? Is this worth all of the work?
Yeah.
And to see the disappointment on her face.
Yeah. But I snapped at her because, of course, I'm protective of, like, this happens. You get protective of your booze,
right,
and your habits, because it's shining a light on something that you are already uncomfortable with inside. You're not supposed to be having that glass of wine, and you're trying to figure out why, but you're doing it anyway. And then your 12 and a half year old daughter is like, oh, I'm so disappointed in you. And like, oh,
the shame.
So I'm like, yeah, leave me alone. I'm a grown up. I can make my own decisions. And then afterwards I apologized and I said, I'm sorry, you were right. Like, I shouldn't have had that. So that was it. That was sort of when I said, I'm kind of done. I don't like myself when I drink. I was starting to really feel sick all the time, like, just because of the amount I was drinking. I was probably having at least 2 or 3 glasses of wine a night, because that sort of normalized. I was like, well, I'd have a glass when I got home from work because damn, Mom's tired. And then when I'm making dinner, having a glass of wine. And then, of course, like, you're cleaning up the kitchen, you're busy, you're making the kids lunches for the next day, or whatever you're doing in the evening, you're busy. And then at bedtime, I'm like, oh, I put the kids to bed. Okay, now it's time for Mommy's glass of wine. Finally, I can sit down and have mom time. I'm having a glass of wine because those other 2 didn't count.
Right. That was just to get you through everything.
Yeah, that was
else
just to get me through. This is now the party. This is now the party, like, that not the party, but like that. This is mom time. Yeah. Right. This is like, woo, Mom gets to read a chapter of her book with a glass of wine, right? Party time. And that, like, I was starting to feel, like, at the end there, just so sick, sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and so mad at myself. Like, why can't I control this? And when I read Quit Like a Woman, I read Annie Grace. It just blew my mind, because it explained everything. Yeah. That I can overcome this. The science says so. The science says so. It says it is in black and white, that it's an addictive substance, that when you stop taking it, your addiction goes away.
And the more you drink it, the more you're going to want to drink it, because your body is trying to regulate that homeostasis, even if it's intoxicated. Yes.
And so that was kind of the like, that's my journey. That's sort of where I sort of how I came out of the woods and into the clear. And you had asked a second question, how is life now? How am I feeling? And I mean, I still, everybody tries to articulate this, but it's so difficult to articulate just how incredible it is. Like, it doesn't solve all your problems. If you have serious depression and anxiety, quitting drinking will help it, but it's not going to make it go away, for instance. If you have other health problems, quitting drinking is probably a good thing if you have some serious health problems. Yeah. But overall, I would say the true joy comes from being able to cope with life better. All the things come together in a really holistic way. All of a sudden, you're sleeping better, you're less cranky, you're building stronger relationships with the people around you because you're less snippy, because you're haven't had enough sleep. Your body starts looking better because you're drinking water, drinking more like things that are not alcohol. The toxins are coming out of your system. A year, and so this would be, so April 6th, 2020. So right at the beginning of the pandemic was when I started the 30-day program. So it's been like a year and like 4 or 5 months. And it's been, I think, I'd say once every 3 months at this point, I get a bit of a craving. Yeah. Because I'm in a situation where it's been a hard day or something like that, but it goes away really quickly. Yeah. And so there's no connection anymore. There's no desire. I can make it through the Jewish holidays without, my in-laws drink a lot. And so we were there the other night and for Rosh Hashanah, and I forgot my bottle of really great alcohol-free wine or sparkling wine.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law had peach sparkling wine for the kids. And I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
It's great. It's perfect for me. And I noticed around the table, and this is another topic, and I don't want to maybe go down that rabbit hole just yet, but I talk a lot about inclusive hospitality. And when you have options around the table that are not alcohol, people who may not feel like drinking feel more included, because then they can choose. Maybe but if there's nothing else except water or wine, they'll go for the wine.
Yeah.
Because they feel like it's not fun to have water.
Yeah.
What I noticed at this recent family get together is that usually my husband would drink a lot with people around the table, and my sister-in-law usually has like a glass of wine or something, and people drank a lot less. There wasn't as much like vodka being tossed back, and my husband was like, no, I'm good, I don't feel like drinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He had the little bit of kosher wine for the blessing, and like that was it. And my brother-in-law and a family friend had one shot, and then they were like, yeah, that's good, we're good. And I have to wonder, is it because I've set the tone? It's not all about me, but like I've like, no thanks, I'm gonna have the peach sparkling one, that's great.
You've given
And
them
set
the
that tone.
ability to do something differently as well.
Yes. So lead the field. Like lead the field. If you're like, as being rebellious and choosing, making that choice, you create, you're being a leader and creating opportunity for other people to also live in balance. You're the first one with your shirt off.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making it safe for other people to dance in the field with their shirt off. Anybody jumping into the podcast right at this moment is not going to understand what we're talking
Take your shirt off.
Take your shirt off at the table, everyone. That's what Sarah Kate says. So yeah, that is like truly the joy in this, is that I'm feeling awesome. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling healthy. I ate so much sugar when I first went down this path, by the way.
Yeah.
I gained so much weight because I was like, I'm just focusing on one thing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to focus on this one thing. I'm not going to let anything else distract me. I'm not going to try and like go to the gym right away and like start like, bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was just like, I knew my tendency was in life to like overdo everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think this time I'm just going to do this one thing for myself, and gained a ton of weight, ate like, honestly, like bags of chocolate covered almonds every day.
Your body was craving that sugar. I think that's normal. That happens.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when people reduce their alcohol consumption, their body's like, whoa, where did that sugar go? I would like some.
Yeah.
And so,
Yes.
the sweets come out and the things that you wouldn't normally eat. And that's okay.
Yeah, totally. Since then I've gone back to a like healthier, balanced, like I don't really care about the number on the scale, but I'm much healthier now. Like I'm choosing a lot more actually I'm not practicing intuitive eating just yet the way that like our friend Rachel Melinda would do it. But I'm starting to think more along those lines of like, what do I need right now? What does my body need? What is going to be okay and healthy?
Yeah.
Am I, and not like judging eating chocolate covered almonds.
Yeah.
That's been really helpful too, to like just this overall sense of like happiness and joy, is like understanding that there's balance in everything we do. And that includes eating, drinking, exercise, relationships, even, the way that you approach relationships. So things
and it
are
served
good.
its purpose. Yeah. And you use what you need in that moment. Like you were saying, like, what do I need right now? I think at that point in time, you needed chocolate covered almonds, because that's how you were going to stop drinking. And this is it's a journey. It's a long road. It's your life. It's not just this period of time. It's not these 30 days. It's life for the long haul, for every day that you're here. So if for 30 days or 60 days or whatever it is, those chocolate almonds are getting you past the point of needing or wanting to drink, then you get to a place where then you start to kind of look at you're no longer so focused on not drinking. You can now focus on the foods that you're eating and the relationships and the quality of the conversations.
Yes.
And I think it's
Yeah.
just one step at a time in
Yeah.
anything, whether it's learning
Yeah.
how to eat intuitively or losing weight or cutting back on alcohol. Like, it's so important to not overwhelm yourself to the point that you just give up on all of it, and you know, put yourself in a position where you are now looking to cope with all the changes you're trying to make with the habit that you're
Yeah.
trying to avoid, you know, to
Yes.
change.
Yes. Yes.
That makes
And I
sense.
was just thinking too that like healthy habits, healthy habits take reinforcement. So
Mhm.
doing a 30-day program is great, but it's not the end of it. And actually the 30-day program, what I've told some people who've reached out to me is if you don't think you can right now, like just go completely alcohol free, and you're not interested in that for 30 days,
Mhm.
then practice mindful drinking for 30 days. Practice like
Mhm.
cutting back one glass here and there, because this is about the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it takes effort to get to your goals of being happy and healthy. It takes effort, and you can't give up. You have to figure out what works for you and put in the
Mhm.
effort. And so if you want to be healthy and healthier and happier, and you know that you're not really happy with how much you're drinking, start with something that is like a small goal, but put in the effort. Create
Mhm.
small goals for yourself. Like, this month I'm going to practice 30 days of mindful drinking.
Mhm.
Or this year, the first week of every month, I'm not going to drink, and I'm going to reset my system.
Yeah.
I'm going to, so this isn't about, so it's, I've never liked the idea of like cold turkey. I'm quitting
Mhm.
drinking right away. I'm sick of myself. I hate myself. I'm quitting. That's it. I've done that. I
Yeah.
lasted like 4 days.
Right. Until you start to feel better, and then you're like, mommy needs a drink.
Yeah. Then you forget
Right.
until you start reading the books, and until you start educating yourself and reading the books, you understand why you do that.
Mhm.
And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, here I am at the 4-day mark. Well, I'm going to be stronger than
Yeah.
my whatever's happening in my brain. I'm going to
Yeah.
make it through to the 5th day, to the 6th day. And then once you get past 10 days, you've kind of made it over that hump a bit. But yeah, so I was going to say that it really is the practicing whatever your goal is every day, that it can't end at the 30-day mark. Like dry January, I like the idea of these months, but I wish people would keep going. Like and
Mhm.
take what they've learned from
Yeah.
dry January and apply it to February and March and
Yeah.
April and May, and approach it as like I'm not feeling great about myself. I want to put some effort into this area, doing
Yeah.
the dry January, and then like really like, okay, what have I learned from this? How am I feeling? Can I
Mhm.
keep practicing some of this in my life? But we tend to like dry January, done.
Yeah. It's almost like dry January is just getting you're just restricting until you get to a place where you can have all the drinks that you want. It's like, a restrictive diet where you're like, I'm not going to have my favorite
Yeah.
dessert for,
Oh yeah.
2 weeks until I get back from vacation. And then you're going to binge on that favorite dessert. So it's like, what's the intention behind dry January? Is that to really take a look at how you feel when you remove that? Or is that just to boost your ego and show yourself that you can do it until you then get to do it, double or, kind of binge on it later. So I think, sometimes people are just afraid to see how they'll feel. It's almost like, you're saying you don't have to do anything in such an extreme that you say, I'll never do this again, or I'm a non-drinker now as of today. Just experimenting the other direction, just experimenting and trying it. Just see how you
Mhm.
feel. If you don't
Yeah.
feel great, try it, because you might feel better. You might not, and you might continue the way, you were with the same habits, and that's fine. But you may feel better, and that's okay. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes people are so afraid that if
Yeah.
they toe that line or, dip a toe in, they won't be able to come back, and they're not ready to give
Yeah.
that up. And you can do whatever you want. So
Yeah. Yeah.
try
You make
that.
the rules.
Yeah.
You make the rules, but you put in the effort.
Yeah.
It's up to you to set your goals and figure out what works for you and put in
Mhm.
the effort.
Yeah.
I think this is the one thing that I've actually learned from all of this, is that I've run half marathons, and been successful at them, but I've never been successful at like weightlifting to get healthy and that kind of thing, because there's no end goal.
Right.
So what I've learned from this is that you have to have a goal to put in the effort. I mean, having even a 30-day or a 1-week goal gives you a goal to work for, and then you know where to put the effort in.
Right.
And you can then assess afterwards, like, how did I feel running that half marathon, for instance, or how did I feel in that 1 week without alcohol? And you can see that the reward of your efforts within that goal. So I think goals and effort are super important. Is like you've got to put in the work, and you can't just do it half-assed, or not half-assed. The goal has to be something manageable for you, and you make your own rules of what that goal is and how that's going to work. But you got to put in the effort. You can't say I'm going to quit drinking and then not try.
Right, exactly. It's like manifesting. You can't just wish for something and the universe drops it in your lap. You have to still take the steps to get to that manifestation. You know, you put it out there and then work towards it. It doesn't just come to you.
Yeah,
you set
actually,
a goal.
well, I manifested that I was going to be on your podcast, and then I got on your podcast.
And it's so funny. I had just listened to the manifestation to be magnetic with Lacey Phillips. And then I found you, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I've been looking
we were on
for
the
someone
same
just like her.
vibration. Yeah, same vibration.
So funny. That's something else too. You were talking about how you feel better and how everything changes when you kind of remove alcohol from your life. And I feel, and this sounds like woo-woo, but it's so true. I feel like I vibrate at a higher frequency. So when I have drinks, even if it's now, you know, I used to binge drink, I blacked out every time I drank. Like I was that person. But and I still do drink, and I want to get to a place where I don't anymore. And there have been 3-month periods, 2 weeks, like it's a lot less than it used to be. And I'm happy with that, especially considering what it used to look like. But I'm definitely on that journey to just eliminating it, because now I know I feel the difference. I see the difference, and I vibrate on a much lower frequency, even if I've had 2 glasses of wine, you know, once a week or something like that. My energy is different. My communication's different. The effort I put into my business is different. The way that I interact with my kid is a little bit different. The foods that I eat and what I kind of want to eat, even though I'm not hungover, my energy is different. And
100%. It's not woo-woo at all. It's not woo-woo at all. I 100% believe in the operating at a high vibration, and the frequency you're on, and it, you know, you can do so much when you are working from your highest self in that high vibration. You can get so much done, and as soon as your brain starts to get fogged by something that's not natural for it, even sugar sometimes makes me go bonkers and like lowers my vibration. And it affects too. So I really truly believe too that vibration is impacted by how you are treating other people. Like, so leaving other people with a feeling of an increase in themselves, and that vibration comes back at you, right? So that their vibration goes up, and then you get that vibration back, and it's like it's like magic. But when you can't show up like operating from your highest self, then you're not leaving somebody with a feeling of increase. You're not feeling like leaving them with a feeling of they've benefited from being around you. They're operating then from you're lowering your frequency, they've lowered their frequency, and it's like, you know, what you get magnets that don't, that's what you get back. And this is something I've learned in the last year and a half too. I didn't know any of this before, because I never had the time to understand these things. And then, you know, opening up all these doors to self-development and understanding myself. And let me tell you, this has also been a journey of peeling back the layers. You have to be willing to not only do the work and put in the effort physically and not drink, like, you know, work on not drinking, work on strategies. You also have to do the work internally. And so I've peeled back a ton of layers of the onion, nowhere near the center yet. But part of that was learning about and really understanding like sort of the manifestation and vibration and like the universe. And it's been so interesting. And probably a year ago I would have been like, that's woo woo,
right?
I actually like really believe it works, especially now, like, things are coming together for myself and my family, and little ways that I'm just like, oh, look at that. That was the universe. Everything's always
Yep.
working out for me.
Yeah. It's magical. And the
It
more
is.
you lean into that, the more it happens for you. It's almost like when you just kind of lift that curtain, it's like you're limitless. I feel limitless when I'm not kind
Yeah.
of dampered down
Yeah.
by something
Yeah.
like alcohol. Like I feel
Yeah.
limitless. Like I can do
Yes.
anything, I can achieve
Yeah.
anything. I'm on my
Yeah.
way. Things are happening. The universe is working in my favor. Like I
Yeah.
feel that so, so much when I
Yeah.
don't
You
have
get,
anything interfering.
yeah, you get mental and physical time back. You actually get
Yeah.
mental and physical time back, because that time that you would have spent being in a bit of a fog,
Mhm.
and that's not always true, right? Because sometimes you're with your girlfriends and you're really enjoying that time. It's,
Mhm.
for me, it was like when I was drinking 3 glasses of wine a night because I was just trying to cope with life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time spent in, where am I picking up that bottle of wine? How can I zone
Right.
out? I'm going to drink this wine and just sit like a lump in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm taking over the universe.
Yeah.
I'm growing a global movement. Like, who knew
Yeah.
2 years ago that was in the cards? But
Yeah.
you're right. You feel like you can do anything. You're invincible. You're not actually invincible, but like, it's this feeling of just,
Yeah.
you can get up, that you're going to get up in the morning and have 100% effort, or like
Mhm.
energy and effort, even on your bad days. Your bad days are better than hungover days.
Yes, that is so, so true. That is so true. That's such a good point. That's funny you said that, because there were there were definitely things I did in my high school and college years where I made that choice also. I was like, you know what? I'd rather just feel normal, which isn't like exciting and fun, but it's normal, than feel as bad as I do when other things are like leaving my body. And the same goes for alcohol. It's like feeling normal and feeling like yourself is so much better than feeling hungover. And as we get older, being hungover is like a 3-day affair. So if you do that every weekend, that's that's like how many
It's
days of the
true.
month are you wasting?
That is very true. Actually, the older you get, I do know, like, so I don't know, I think I said this earlier, but I'm 44. And so I have found that now, when I get together with friends, people are hardly drinking anymore at this
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
There are still drinkers, but I went to my friend's backyard last Friday. Just, it was a five women, and I think that she had like 4 or 5 bottles of wine there for us to drink, and I brought my own alcohol-free champagne, and I think only like one bottle the whole night got drank,
Wow.
and like one cooler, like one can of
Wow.
something.
Yeah.
Because we're also so busy talking and like being present with each other.
Hmm.
Sorry, and that is not what I meant to say here. What I meant to say is that everybody was talking about how long it takes them to recover from drinking.
Yeah.
It's a thing now. This conversation. I'm like, listen to us. We're talking about our, like,
Yeah.
how old we are, like,
Yeah.
recovering from hangovers. But it's true.
Yeah.
It's many women in my network have said, I can't have 2 glasses of wine anymore. I don't feel good.
Hmm.
It's, as we get older, our metabolisms change, and this is when I come in and I say, preventative wellness, preventative health.
Hmm.
Don't have that glass of wine at
Yeah.
all.
Then you don't have to recover from it.
Yeah. Don't have that glass of wine, and really try and understand why you're having that glass of wine. If
Yeah.
you are feeling like there's no point, if it's just going to make you feel that crummy,
Yeah.
especially now as we're aging, and things happen to women's bodies at late 40s, early 50s, right? And
Mhm.
you start to realize at my age that you're not young forever.
Right. I know my husband he's 46. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year, but he's 46, and he's always like he can't have 2 beers. And he used to tour in bands. Like he did the whole rock star thing where you expect that they're like
Oh,
wasted all the
sweet.
time. And I don't think
Yeah.
he was, because he's always been, not really on that bandwagon, but definitely lived that life, right? And now he's like, I can't do 2 Bud Lights. And I'm like, Bud Light is like water. And he's like, Kristen, it's different. Like you'll see when you're 46. And I'm like, nah, you're just like lame-o. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think it's great. I love that he is not like everyone in my life has always been like a drinking partner, and he's not. And I think that's why we're so solid, and it's great. I love that he's not that person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is funny. Like even now, if I have like a glass of wine or two, like I'm like, wow, I'm not 100%. That's interesting. But
Yeah.
you made me think of something, like sitting around with your girlfriends and having fun. And I think one point is, if you can't have great conversation with someone without alcohol, you should probably reevaluate your friendships. Like, who are
Yeah.
you spending your time with, and do you want to be
Yes.
spending your time with them?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
two, have you ever read the book The Art of Gathering?
No.
It's been
Oh, that's a new
recommended to
one.
me. I haven't read it yet either, but it's on my list. I feel
Okay.
like it's really important in this conversation because it focuses around, like, when you go to a birthday party, sit near the person whose birthday it is. When you go to a dinner party, like, make sure you go and you see the host and you have a conversation with them, and to
Mhm.
remember why you're at a baby shower or an anniversary dinner or a wedding, because all of those events can be seen as like just an opportunity to get drunk or to have free drinks or whatever it happens to be, when in reality, like, that's not the purpose of the gathering at all. So I thought that was an
Yeah.
interesting, I need to read that book. A friend of mine had recommended it and I wasn't sure if you had
Yeah.
read it yet.
No, and that I think I'm going to read it and review it because part of this conversation is about how over the last 20 years, all of our relationships have revolved around alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And how good are those, all of them? Like, even if you realize it or not, that we have forgotten how to have conversations with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, another girlfriend of mine, she said that she and her girlfriends got together and they decided they weren't going to drink. They were just going to hang out. And it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
It was hard for them to do that. And that was like painful to hear, but that was that light bulb where I realized we have forgotten how to be friends.
Mm-hmm.
We have forgotten how to be present for the people in our lives
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, as a culture. We've forgotten how to gather. So The Art of Gathering, it sounds like an incredible book, because that's such a valid point. Go sit next to the woman who's having the baby and talk to her. Don't stand around the mimosas table.
Right.
Why do they have, sorry, this is no judgment for anyone listening, but why is there always so much booze at baby showers when the main person can't even drink?
I know. I always think about like the first birthday party too. You always have like tons of beer, alcohol, shots. First birthday parties are like the parents like go wild in the afternoon on a Saturday. And I've been there, done that plenty of times. It's the only way I was going to a first birthday party. But like, wow, that's pretty messed up, when you actually think about it. Again, no judgment. I've done it.
Yeah, no judgment.
But
no judgment at all. I actually just on a sidebar, I was out running or riding my bike the other day, and so it was the weekend, and I ran through the park, and there was a picnic table covered in a pink tablecloth and a one balloon and a bunch of loot bags, and mom standing around with plastic cups, and I was like, they're drinking wine. But I thought about it and I was like, my mom never had a first birthday party for myself or my two sisters.
Yeah.
I don't even think we had a second. Like, I mean, we had cake at home, and we had like, maybe my grandparents came over and kissed us on the forehead, but like, this goes hand in hand. It's all tied together, and I'm not going to blame alcohol for everything, but it's, it has become another reason to gather and drink. And a first birthday, a second birthday, and that's just an example. We've created scenarios, like drinking on the sidelines of your kid's soccer game. It used to be like, when I was playing soccer, there's no, parents didn't do that.
No.
And now going to your kids' games has become a reason for parents to congregate and have their mugs of stuff to drink on the sideline. So the conversation has shifted about parenting and provision of joy for our children. And there were times when I would not even be watching my kids' soccer game or swim meet. Swim meet's different. It's too early in the morning for booze. But like, soccer games and stuff. So back to the first birthday party, there's like, no judgment for those women. They're having a good time. But I'm like, where have we gotten to as a culture that this this is an excuse
Yeah.
it's not, the baby doesn't know.
Right. It's not about the baby at all.
And there's pink loot bags, and I'm like, what's happening? And I thought back to my daughter's Rachel, her first birthday. We just had people over to our house. So, but it was like, there was lots of drinks and like, balloons and stuff like that. So, it's become a new, has it become a new rite of passage for the baby, or is it a rite of passage for the parents back into like, our kids won, now we can get back to like partying again, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, it's interesting. And it's something I struggle with. Like, part of me is like, oh God, this year, it's a birthday. I don't have to work. That's the thing. I'm not working today. I've got all my family on Zoom, and I've got this cute little baby, and he's so happy it's his birthday. Like, let's have some champagne. Who cares if it's 11 in the morning? No, like, I have to remember, like, that's not how it should be. I don't want to say that it's not normal, because it actually is normal. It is normal. That's what people do. But it doesn't have to be my normal.
Yeah.
And I think
it doesn't have to be your
that,
normal.
Yeah.
So also, we haven't talked about this area yet, and we could, this could be another rabbit hole, so maybe stay away from it totally. But that's when I say, have the champagne, but have alcohol-free champagne.
Yeah.
Because you're elevating your own experience. You're elevating there. It's an elevated option. So instead of saying, I'm not going to drink and I'm going to have water, I mean, if it's 11 a.m., make yourself a fancy coffee.
Yeah.
So there's lots of alcohol-free spirits out there now that are excellent quality, that are like, have espresso liqueur, amaretto liqueur. Make yourself a really fancy coffee, or have an alcohol-free champagne. Today we did a photo shoot today for the magazine, and I was thinking about Earl Grey tea in bubbles put together.
Oh.
And so I had done some research, and so I sort of riffed on a couple of different recipes and made an Earl Grey syrup out of Earl Grey tea. It's a little bit, this isn't that complicated, but it's a little bit more fancy than most people would want to go to. But I made some Earl Grey syrup, and then and Earl Grey tea as well. And I mixed a tablespoon of the syrup, some Earl Grey, half a cup of Earl Grey tea, and then I filled up the rest of the cup with the best alcohol-free champagne.
Ooh.
And it was delightful. It was delightful.
Oh my gosh, that sounds delicious.
So that's why, that's the next phase of this, or not the next phase, that's the next kind of piece, is like, you don't have to miss out on the feeling of being celebratory. You can have an elevated experience without the alcohol, and be present, but feel like you are experiencing something fun and something grown up. Like, it's not a tonic water or a soda, like a Pepsi, or just plain water. The world out there now in alcohol-free spirits and beer and wine and sparkling wine is just, it's exploding. There's so many good products that there isn't any good reason in my mind anymore. And this is my opinion, no judgment again, but like, there really isn't any reason why somebody couldn't have a great drink that is alcohol-free at any event, at any place. There's no reason why movie theaters shouldn't be carrying great alcohol-free beer. There's no reason why bowling alleys shouldn't be carrying alcohol-free drinks. And why people shouldn't be stocking up their own houses with it, so that they can have options when they maybe don't feel like drinking.
And I think the more that we, the more that the demand is there, the more they will. Like, these new, like, we have Kin Euphorics, and we have Seedlip, and we have a lot of new alcohol-free spirits that didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. So the fact that these companies are now creating these cocktails, and then there's another company that's competing with them, and then there's a market for this, and all of a sudden you start having these products. I think then, companies follow the money, right? So I think then movie theaters will start to have, an alcohol-free, whatever it happens to be. I think the more that we demand, the more that there's a demand for that, and this wellness culture continues to permeate, I think that we'll see a little bit more of that. What's your favorite cocktail to make at home, like, in terms of simplicity? So if somebody wanted to put something together after work, they're kind of new to this, what's something satisfying but simple that they could put together to get kind of that same like adult elevated feeling at the end of like a long day?
Okay, so my go-to recently, like as the weather's kind of getting cooler here, is there's a line of alcohol-free spirits called Lyres, Lyre''S. Available in the US and Canada. They have an American malt whiskey. So I've been having like whiskey and Cokes.
Oh my goodness.
It's alcohol-free. Alcohol-free.
Wow,
It
that's
is
incredible.
It's exceptional. It is an exceptional product. There's also Free Spirits, which is from California.
Okay.
And they have a bourbon. So if you want a bourbon and Coke, you could do that. But I'd say the Lyre's American malt is so good. They also carry so I'm going to give you my second kind of go-to. Not everybody's gonna like. Wait a second, sorry, I have three. So that the American malt, the Lyre's American malt is one. There's also one. Most people have heard of like an Aperol Spritz.
Yeah, that's very popular, especially in the summer.
Yeah. So Lyre's makes a really great. It's called Italian Spritz, I think it's called. There's other brands out there that make sort of like an orange bitter, an alcohol-free orange bitter. There are Italian brands that specifically make aperitivos that are non-alcoholic, because that's what like, you know, is sort of more normalized there to have the sort of alcohol-free aperitivo. You can mix that, so any of those sort of bitter orange syrups with alcohol-free champagne. Ooh. And you've got a pretty darn good spritz. And that is more of a summery drink.
Yeah,
for sure. But that's 2 ingredients, super simple. Then the American malt and Coke is 2 ingredients. And then the third one, not everybody's going to like this because I'm really specific about taste sometimes, but I really loved white wine. Like that was my thing. Like cool climate Chardonnays were like, oh, right? And I have searched far and wide for good alcohol-free white wine. It's hard to find, especially in Canada. We don't have access to the same brands as the US does. So I'm sure there's ones out there. People are going to type into comment on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, we have
she forgot about this.
She forgot about this one. Just because it's not available in Canada yet.
Yeah.
But what I do is I take, I have found that alcohol-free white vermouth. There's a couple of different lines. And not to keep talking about Lyre's, they have a line of it, but there's also Roots, Roots from Greece. They both, so Lyre's and Roots both have like a white vermouth type product, alcohol free, and I mix that with tonic water, with diet tonic water, because I don't like how regular tonic water is super sweet. So I either do like low sugar tonic water or diet tonic water.
Okay. I'm writing this all down for anyone listening. Okay. I'm writing it all down so I can put it in the show notes so we can all find
perfect.
it.
Okay. Also, well, I was going to say too, I'll do a little page on some Good Clean Fun with those 3 recos, and you can just direct people there.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah, on some Good Clean Fun too, there is a list of Sarah's top 5. What are my go-to products? Because I'm limited to Canadian things right now, it is more skewed Canadian, but you can get some of the products in the US. And, you can also you want to get a good gin, you want to get a good you want to get a good like aperitif, like orange bitter liqueur, like alcohol-free liqueur, because you can mix that in a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
So I have that too. And so I really like to provide, when I say I'm an alcohol-free sommelier, this is what I do. I try every single product under the sun, and I try and recommend what I think the best are for that situation.
Yeah.
Your budget level. So if somebody comes and says, I'm doing a bridal shower, but I've only got $50, I'm going to say, go to the grocery store and get the lower end alcohol-free wine, but throw lots of fruit in it and let it soak overnight. And no one's ever the wiser.
Amazing.
Right.
So
there's lots of different ways to, depending on the scale of your event and your budget and stuff. But there's those are my 3 kind of the 3 drinks are the American malt and Coke, the spritz, and my Italian, like, or my vermouth and tonic.
I want to try all of these now. Like, I'm like, oh, these all sound so good. Like things I wouldn't even drink the alcoholic versions of. They just sound so good. Like that sounds delicious and tasty. And now I want to try it. And I love that you do the research for us and kind of, compile all of these recipes together. That's so cool.
I love it. It's so much fun. And my final note on this, I think, is like, I wasn't a cocktail drinker per se before I went down this road, because it was so easy to open a bottle of wine.
Right.
Or I would go to a bar and I would get a cocktail and I'd be finished it in 30 seconds because it was such a small amount of liquid. And then I would get another one and another one. Really, I was just thirsty. I should have just been drinking water. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think about it now, I'm like, damn, I should have had water.
Yeah.
Chugging those small cocktails. But I think the reason why I do what I do now is to I search for easy recipes that a busy woman can throw together quickly when their kids are having a tantrum and they just need 5 minutes to right? You just need something in a glass to hold and sit. And it's not even what's in the glass. It's sitting on a couch for 5 minutes with something in your hand and the actual like imbibing of the liquid in your body and the feeling your body gets from like relaxing and ingesting some liquid, is so healing in that moment. And you're also drinking something that's elevated. You're not sitting on the couch with water. Like,
it's special.
It's like mommy time. And it helps if you have something, if I can enable women to make it easy. Don't overcomplicate things. If you don't want to make Earl Grey syrup, don't do it.
Right.
I did it because I was obsessed with like tasting Earl Grey syrup with champagne.
I'm thinking of like a rosemary, like a rosemary simple syrup of some sort. Like I'm going to have to message you separately to figure out what we can like mix with the herbs that I'm growing, because that sounds really exciting too.
Yes, the raspberry, you can make a beautiful raspberry syrup. And I have a book here with a raspberry syrup recipe, a rosemary syrup recipe that I'm gonna have to look up. So you can do lots with that. And there's tons and tons of different, like, so anybody listening to this who is really interested in cooking and passionate about food, this is a really interesting space to get into, because you can bring in this knowledge of cooking and some drinks, in these books that are written more for bartenders and mixologists. Sometimes it takes you a whole weekend to make the ingredients for a couple of drinks. Depending on how, so you can, if you're really interested in cooking and the culinary world, you could really get into making alcohol-free drinks, because it's a totally different world.
Get creative. It's a good way to express that creativity, to have that outlet, to focus on that primary food. It's a win-win. I love it. That's awesome. Where can everyone find you? I want to make sure we get it right. So where can everyone find you? Your magazine, your page, any resources? Please share the wealth so that we can keep this conversation going and everyone, imbibing the healthy way. So we're at somegoodcleanfun.com. So you'll find all of our articles there, and we send out a newsletter every Friday with a drink of the week. So this week's drink is called the Hollywood and Vine, because it's the film festival here in Toronto, and I made a drink for the Oscars back in the spring, and so that's I used to live right by Hollywood and Vine.
Did you?
Funny. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll have to send you. Well, actually, you'll have to sign up for the newsletter. Actually, I think you did. You did sign up, so you'll get it. It's a little bit complicated. It's not easy. It's not that easy, but it's, it's delicious. So, but I do a drink of the week, and, and then, it's just a recap on some of the articles. So you can sign up for that. Also on Instagram, my personal account is just some good clean fun. And I talk more about my journey and advocating for, not normalizing, not drinking, and sort of the alcohol-free lifestyle. And then Rethinking Drinking is the page for the magazine. So I know it's a little complicated.
No, it makes, and I'll put that in the show notes as well, so that if anyone missed it or was confused, we've got it. And I love this. This was such a great conversation. It came at the perfect
Yeah.
time. I think that especially now going into the holidays too, like your resources are so needed for anyone who's kind of like teetering on that, experimental line and was like, well, I don't know what I would do around the holidays. Like, I'm sure you're going to have resources and suggestions and stuff
Yeah.
as we get closer
Yeah.
to the holidays too.
And lots of drinks,
Yeah.
lots and lots. Like actually the around like getting closer to Christmas and American Thanksgiving, we have a whole bunch of like things planned for like various events that are very specific to like if you're hosting a work party.
Yeah.
Or here, if you're going to somebody's Christmas party, here's what you can bring for yourself, and here's what you bring for the host. So yeah, we're gonna have lots of resources and like drinks and like some advice and suggestions for getting through some of these. Sometimes it's difficult at the holidays.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's difficult.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's going to be
Yeah.
so helpful. I know I'm going to be checking it out. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so, so much. I hope I didn't keep you too long. I realized that we're
No.
like 30 minutes past our set time, but I could keep going for like another 2 hours if we had time. So
Thank you for having me today. This was
You are
really
so
great,
welcome.
really a great conversation. And it's just a privilege to be able to share with your audience, and hopefully it's been inspiring in some ways. And
Yeah.
if even one woman out there drinks one less glass of wine, I've done my job.
Yes, so much value. Thank you so much. I love this. We'll have to do this again. I feel like there's still so much to
Yes.
uncover. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good evening. And
Yeah,
thank
you too.
again.
We'll be in touch.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.